Hey, I'm Nick Kalikas. Welcome to the show where you get first look at the latest odds before they hit the sports books.
And I'm Miguel Iturrate. This is the place for a unique look at MMA from a gambler's perspective.
And this is MMA Oddsbreaker. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Nick Kalikas, alongside Miguel Iturrate.
On today's show, we're going to start things off by talking about two big title fights that recently went down. UFC 135's Jon Jones' domination of Quinton Jackson, and UFC on Versus 6, Dominick Cruz beating up Demetrious Johnson. Also, big news from Dana White. Is Gilbert Melendez finally UFC bound?
And on today's Oddsbreaker segment, I'll be joined by two very special guests, MMA legends Bas Rutten and Frank Trigg. Both guys will help me break 3 original odds that haven't been released to the sportsbooks yet.
Let's start off by talking about the UFC's recent light heavyweight title defense at 135. Jon Jones dominating Quinton Jackson. What'd you think? How impressive was Jon Jones?
Wow, you know, I thought Jon Jones might live up to all the hype that he's getting right now, but that performance from Jones was really impressive. I mean, by far the best performance he's had yet in the octagon, and he fought a version of Quinton Rampage Jackson that was game. I mean, he took the training serious. He was in good shape. He came to fight. He came to win. So Jon Jones, not only did he beat Quinton Jackson, he beat a very good Quinton Jackson.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it was definitely his best performance to date. I think we have a champion here who will probably keep it for a while. I'd like to see what he does with Rashad. I'm not sure I'm sold on Rashad being the best challenger for him. I think Rashad's got reach disadvantages and a couple of things like that. I'd like to see maybe Lyoto, and actually what I'd like to see at some point is an Anderson Silva super fight with Jon Jones.
Yeah, that'd be great. I did release the odds for the Rashad Evans-Jon Jones fight. Jones, not surprised, is a heavy favorite. He's minus 475 to come back around 325 for Rashad Evans. So when that fight does take place, if Rashad does win, it'd be a big upset.
The other big title fight that went down was on UFC Versus 6. Big title fight, little guys, bantamweights. Dominick Cruz taking on Demetrious Johnson. Exciting fight, a lot of action. I think that the UFC really did themselves a favor opening up these weight classes. I'd like to see this continue to develop. They're on the TV show, so we're going to see a lot of talent here. And Cruz was definitely dominant.
Yeah, I mean, he looked great. And I got to credit Demetrious Johnson, too. To me, he's always been a little bit undersized for that division, although he does definitely belong in that division. He's proven that. I mean, he's won against top-tier guys in that weight class, and he deserved his title shot. But I just thought he was a little bit small coming into the fight, and I think that's what the main difference was. Dominick Cruz, his size advantage in the fight kind of propelled him. He got the decision, a well-deserved decision. And I think Mighty Mouse, I've said it before, he's a future champ at 125. I know that we're hearing, I should say this too, we're hearing Mighty Mouse wants to stay at 135 a little bit longer. He's not done yet, but I can't wait for that 125-pound weight class to come in.
Yeah, it's exciting. Like I said, that UFC's opening up these weight classes. I think the Dominator, as they called Cruz, you know, he showed me some different aspects of his game. For the first time, I think he fought somebody who was faster than him, and he still took him out.
Yep, impressive performance by Dominick Cruz.
And to finish off this last segment of our news, it looks like Dana White had a big announcement. It looks like he's going to be pulling Gilbert Melendez into the UFC a little faster than we thought. Get him out of Strikeforce and into the UFC. What do you think?
I think it's well-deserved. I mean, Gilbert Melendez is definitely one of the top lightweights in the world, if not the best lightweights in the world. And I would like to see him get an immediate title shot, sneak in there after the winner of Edgar and Maynard does happen, and it does take place. I would like to see Gilbert Melendez get that shot. What do you think?
I think his resume calls for it. I think he deserves it. He's fought top-tier opposition, even though he's been outside of the UFC, and he's dominated. He's been excellent all around, and I think it's a fight that the whole world wants to see.
Yeah, he's a very marketable fighter. I think a lot of great things can happen by Gilbert Melendez coming to the UFC. I mean, Masvidal has to be a little bit disappointed. He had a fight lined up for the title in Strikeforce. And again, this is not 100% confirmed, so we could see things change. We could still see the title fight with Masvidal go down. But as of right now, it looks like Dana White wants Gilbert Melendez in the UFC. All right, let me introduce both guests today on our Oddsbreaker segment. First, from the new hit TV show on Fuel TV, Punk Payback. Also, you can find him on Inside MMA on HDNet. Boss Rutten. Boss, welcome to MMA Oddsbreaker.
Thanks, Nick. Long time no hear, buddy. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Excited about today's show. Having you and Frank on is really a dream come true for me, so appreciate you guys being here. And let's actually shoot it over to Frank Trigg. Frank, thanks for joining us today on the Oddsbreaker segment.
Of course, always.
All right, let's start with the first fight from UFC 139. It's a great fight between Wanderlei Silva and Cung Le. Boss, this fight was very difficult for me to open the line on. I had to make it a pick'em fight, minus 115 either way. I know maybe a few years back, Wanderlei Silva probably would have been a large favorite, but here, I'm not sure. What do you think about this fight?
You know, it's a very hard fight, to bet on because what's going to. The veteran here is Wanderlei Silva. He's got the most fights. Cung Le's got only like 7 or 8 fights, but all his wins come by way of knockout. You know, Wanderlei Silva has lost 8 fights. He only won 2 fights. So in the UFC, he's not been doing so super good. Cung Le then again comes off a big break because he's been shooting some movies. And now suddenly he's back, but in his last fight, okay, he won that fight, but before that he got knocked out against Scott Smith. So Wanderlei Silva has also that one knockout punching power, but can he reach it? The stance with Cung Le, he has that side stance, a little bit like Machida has, and he's using his legs really well. He's got more powerful kicks than Machida has, and he's got more crazy kicks. This guy can make a 1.5 pirouette in the air and then kick you in the face. And that's for real, I'm not just saying that. He can really do that. So I think that Cung Le is going to use the side stance, going to keep him at bay with his side kicks and then suddenly roundhouse kicks. Goes really hard to the body. He knocked a bunch of guys out with kicks to the body, even broke Frank Shamrock's arm with kicks to the body. Wanderlei Silva here, he needs to use his hands. He needs to close the distance. He needs to make sure that he's close on his opponent. Don't go for a clinch. Cung Le's got those crazy throws. I don't think this fight's going to go to the ground. I think because even if Wanderlei wants it, I don't think he can take it to the ground. Cung Le's pretty good, pretty decent in takedown defense. It's a very hard fight to call, but if I really had to say pick a winner, I would say Cung Le. Cung Le's going to win this fight, and he might even drop a punch in there. His hands dramatically improve. It was always most of the time more kicks. At least that makes he makes us look like he's kicking more. He knocked more guys out by way of knockout, by way of punch, than by kicks. But still, his hands were always a little bit less than his kicks are. Now, though, I think that he might have a chance. Find the right range, find the right distance with the side kicks, and then suddenly come in with a big right hand, the straight punch probably, and he might pull off a knockout victory.
Yeah, that's why a lot of valid points there. That's why it's very hard for me to argue with you. I think Cung Le does have he's a great striker, like you said. He can use angles. We're going to throw it over to Frank and get his opinion, but it sounds to me like Boss is going to lay the juice here. You're going to risk, it's actually a pick'em fight, so you're not laying the juice. You're going to risk 575 to win 500 on Cung Le, a pick'em fight. We'll throw it over to Frank Trigg. Frank, what do you think about this fight?
Well, you got to remember that with Cung Le and Wanderlei fighting each other, Wanderlei just got beat by Lieben because he went out there and hit hard. Cung Le hasn't fought in a while. He's not really a top contender at all in this whole thing. But he definitely has skills. He definitely has the ability. But I'm still going to pick Wanderlei just because I think Wanderlei's got the better feel. He's got the better stats. He's had more time in the ring. You remember, Tony's done a great job of his acting career. He's been put himself out there quite a bit. He's got great kicks. But Wanderlei's going to be a guy who's going to go ahead and step inside and push through across. So I really think that Wanderlei's going to finally get this one because he wants to go out on a good note. I know Wanderlei's very close to retirement.
Now, just let me ask you this, Frank. His chin, we have seen him get brutally knocked out. That doesn't bother you? Cung Le is known to be a striker. I agree with a lot of things you said. But Wanderlei's chin, I think that's why it's even opening it a pick, honestly.
Remember, there's not a time that Cung Le's ever punched anybody in the head. When he beats anybody up, Frank Shamrock so much, he broke his arms. And that's basically what happened. And with Cung Le, he's not a guy who's going to go out there and beat a guy up by punching him in the head. I don't think he's really going to get to Wanderlei's chin to even find out because Wanderlei's the kind of guy who's going to step inside and be in there nice, deep, and tight, where everyone else kind of ran away from Cung Le. There's no way that Wanderlei's going to run out on the outside. He's going to stay inside for sure.
All right, so there you have it. Both guys split, which is great. It is a pick'em fight, a very competitive fight. We have Frank Trigg lay 575 to win 500 on Wanderlei Silva, and we had Boss Rutten lay 575 to win 500 on Cung Le. Okay, moving on to the second fight. It's at UFC 140, another great fight ahead between Tito Ortiz and Antonio Rogeiro Nogueira. Little Nog and Tito. I'm opening up Little Nog, the slight favorite, minus 140, comeback plus 110 on Tito Ortiz. Again, almost a pick'em fight, slight edge to Little Nog. Let's start off with you, Frank. Give me your thoughts on this fight.
You know, I'm taking Ortiz in this one specifically because that I watched Little Nog fight Vladimir Menashenko years ago. I watched Little Nog fight quite a bit over the last couple of years while I was doing the commentating in Japan, and I think Ortiz's style is battering, pushing, underhooking, take you down, get on top of you, ground and pound you style is a perfect match, the perfect way to beat up Little Nog because he doesn't have the submission game that Big Nog has. Even though his submissions are great, he does know how to strike. He is not scared to stand there and push and pump. He doesn't have that same style that Big Nog does. I'm definitely taking Ortiz in this fight.
Okay, so Frank Triggs going with the dog here and Tito Ortiz at plus 110 odds. It's going to be 500 to win 550. We're going to throw it over to you, boss. Again, minus 140 on Nogueira, comeback, plus 110 on Tito Ortiz. Give me your thoughts on this fight.
You know, this is a hard one again. You know, very hard to bet on, but again. All right, now Tito in his last 5 fights, he won only 1 fight. You know, that cannot be good mentally for him. Nogueira, he lost his last 2 fights by a decision, though. And the rest before that, it was knockouts and submission. So he's pretty good. And actually, every time when I see Nogueira fight, you know, he gets better, and especially with his takedown defense. Now, both fought Ryan Bader, both beat him. Only Nogueira did it by decision. And Tito, he caught him in that guillotine after he rocked him a little bit with that punch. I don't know, man. I mean, Nogueira is getting better every time we see him, especially in his takedown defense. As I mentioned, that is Tito's game. You know, he's very durable also, Nogueira I'm talking about. You know, and he got stopped only once by knockout. That was against Sokuju. That's a while ago. That was all the way in Pride, I believe. So I think Tito, on top of that, Tito hasn't been able to play the Tito game for a while now. That's taking opponents down and elbow him in the face. You know, and I think that people figured his style out a little bit. And that's why I go with this one. If I had to bet, I would say on Nogueira. It's probably going to go with decision, you know, but Nogueira needs to stop his takedowns, and if he can stop it, you know, reverse it, maybe even to go for submissions. Tito has a really underrated ground game, though. He's much better on the ground than people think, so I don't think that Nogueira is able to submit him, but he might be able to just outwork him and keep the fight on his feet.
Okay, good, valid points there again. And you guys split. You're going to go with the favorite here, slight favorite. Again, it's a pick'em fight basically, minus 140 odds on Nogueira. But you're going to risk 700 to win 500 on Nogueira there. So again, both guys split here in a very competitive fight. I'm looking forward to it. And this happens at UFC 140. All right, moving on to our last fight. It's going to be a future fight. The date has not been announced yet, but it's a Strikeforce Grand Prix heavyweight final fight. We've seen the tournament unfold. It's Daniel Cormier versus Josh Barnett. And we're going to start off with you, boss. I'm going to open up Barnett as a slight favorite, minus 190. The comeback is going to be plus 150 on a very game Cormier. So give me your thoughts on this fight.
You know, this is a hard one, man. This really is because Cormier, every time we see him, he's better. And he's got better hands, more explosive hands. You know, the ground game, he doesn't really have to yet. Not compared to Josh Barnett. Of course, he won 1 fight by a rear naked choke, but that's a rear naked choke. Everybody at the right time can pull that one off. I don't think he's going to go for triangle chokes yet. Then again, he's a super athlete. We never know. But he had only 9 fights, you know, and a lot of them came by way of knockout. But Josh, also very good on his feet. Also a bunch of fight coming by way of knockout, but an unbelievable submission game. Since that wrestling in mixed martial arts is different than normal wrestling on the mat, and we see that with Brock Lesnar, we see that with other guys, you know, I think that Josh might be able here to stop his takedowns, and especially later in the fight. He's got a lot of heart. Josh is one of those guys, when he fought Mirko Cro Cop a long time ago, he just came back from a nasty injury. He wasn't in the best shape, but he fought that entire fight on the heart, you know, and now he comes in shape. You know, he won his last 8 or 9 fights, I believe. You know, I think that he might outwork him. If there's going to be a knockout fight, it's going to be Cormier probably. But again, if I really have to go for something, then I have to go on Barnett. Of course, he's got way more experience than him. I think he's going to mix up punches and kicks and maybe even catch up a takedown. And I believe it when Josh said maybe I'm going to suplex him. Now, suplex, I don't know, but he might trick him into a crazy takedown coming from a striking combination. So once to the ground, I think it's all Josh Barnett's game there. He might even pull off a crazy submission, and otherwise a ground and pound. Yeah, I don't want to say how he's going to win, but I think that Josh Barnett's going to win this fight.
Okay, so a lot of good points there. Barnett's coming in the favor because of a lot of the stuff you did say. He's got an advantage on the ground in submissions. He's definitely going to be Cormier's toughest test to date. But you are going to lay the juice and take $950 to win $500 on Josh Barnett. And we're going to throw it over to Frank Trigg now. Frank, what are your thoughts on this fight? I know you're a big fan of Cormier.
Man, Cormier all day long. I picked against this guy when he was wrestling at Oklahoma State. I think this is the guy to make the Olympic team. I think this guy every time he medaled. Cormier is the guy. He's the guy who's able to take Josh down and be able to get on top and pound him out. He's very, very short, so it's going to be hard for Barnett to go ahead and get a hold. Not very, very short. He's short for the weight, not short for overall stature, but he's short compared to Barnett. He's going to be able to get in size. It's going to be very hard for Barnett to get a hold of him. Anytime that Barnett kicks knees or tries to do anything with his lower limbs to keep Cormier off him, Cormier's going to take him right down to the ground. I think Cormier goes ahead and beats up Barnett and wins a decisive 3-round decision. It's not going to be a finishing fight. It's not going to be a thing that's going to finish. And I don't think that Barnett has the strength, even though his technique is so amazing when it comes to catch wrestling. I don't think Barnett has the strength to be able to hold Cormier down if he does take him down by accident. There's been no way in hell he's going to be able to hit him hard enough to put him away because Cormier's got a big knucklehead coconut head. He's just going to be one of those guys he can beat up relatively easily. And I really do think that Cormier's going to win this thing and win the heavyweight Grand Prix.
Wow, that'd be a big upset at the beginning. I mean, you could have got plus 5,000 odds for the field, and Cormier was actually part of that field to win the tournament. Now we have him all the way to the championship, and he could very well win this final. Again, but very competitive fight. That's why it's under 2-1 odds, and you guys both split on this one as well. And you're going to go with the underdog here, and it's going to be $500 to win $750 on Daniel Cormier to win the whole Grand Prix.
I like it. I'm going to be rich this week.
I'd like to thank both of you guys for coming on the show. It's been a great episode of Oddsbreaker today. First, we're going to start off with Boss. I know that both you guys have extremely crazy schedules, so like I said, I really appreciate you guys taking time off and coming on the show for me. Boss, let the fans know. I know you got the new TV show going on Fuel TV. Anything else going on in your life here?
You know, pretty much, you can find everything out on bosswooden.com. You know, if you really want to improve your long size and long volume and strength, go to o2trainer.com. That's the important one. Boss Wooden MMA on Twitter. Follow me there. There's the latest highlights or everything that happens on news. You know, I let the people also know. And that's about it. Sorry if I came a little bit over. It's all over the place, but I'm in a car and, you know, it's in the middle of a traffic jam. I'm trying to read my notes in between, but don't want to cause an accident. That's why, you know, it was a little bit up and down.
Oh, you did a great job, but we appreciate it. Like I said, I know you're a busy guy, so we appreciate the time.
All right, Nick. Thanks, buddy.
Well, thank you for coming on. And also, big thanks to Frank Trigg for coming on today's show. I know you're a busy man. You got commentating duties this weekend. What else is going on with you, Frank?
You know, it's tough. You know, the biggest thing to do is follow me on Twitter, because I'm always telling everybody where I'm at, where I'm going, and keep looking if you have an Android or iPhone app. I'm thinking that they'll be out here in a couple months, we hope, and then you'll be able to follow me anytime, and on there will be my calendar of events and where I'm going. So appreciate all the fans paying attention to me after 15 years. So thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, again, thanks. You guys made today's Oddsbreaker segment, like I said, a special segment for me. So really appreciate you guys coming on, and I would like to have both of you guys on in the near future as well. Thanks for coming on.
Love to. It'd be great.
Welcome back to the show. Coming out of our most interesting Oddsbreaker segment yet, two superstar guests, Frank Trigg and Bas Rutten, and they split on all three fights. And I think, you know, it goes back to their backgrounds. Bas is a striker from Holland with, you know, a kickboxing background, karate background. Frank Trigg, more of a world-class wrestler, and I think the picks really showed the difference in their mindset of fighting, and how two experts could both be completely on opposite ends.
Yeah, and I think not only were our two experts on opposite ends, a lot of the betting public is going to be on opposite ends with these three fights as well. And I'm glad I picked these particular fights because I think it fits in really well with Frank Trigg and Bas Rutten, because we're seeing a lot of experienced fights here. Starting off with the first one, actually, Cung and Wanderlei Silva. Wanderlei's been around for a long time. Cung is actually a veteran of the sport as well, but he's only had a few fights. Cung, Wanderlei Silva, pick 'em minus 115. We had both guys split. Bas Rutten took Cung, Frank Trigg took Wanderlei Silva. I want to know your thoughts.
It's an interesting fight. I don't see it going to the ground. Let's just put it that way. And you know, I see Cung potentially knocking Wanderlei out, since there is the questions of his chin recently. However, I think Wanderlei also has an ability to make the fight more rugged and to really turn it into a little bit more of a street fight, which I think suits him better.
Yeah, and again, I think the betting public's going to split. So 115 is probably a good line. I'm not going to adjust the line. I'm going to leave it there and see how the public takes it. But we would definitely see some movement on this line, I'm sure. Let's go on to the second fight. It was another classic battle between Tito Ortiz and Antonio Rogeiro Nogueira, Little Nog. And this one, almost to pick him again. It's Nog coming in as a slight favorite, minus 140. Comeback plus 110 on Tito Ortiz. And this time, Frank Trigg chose Tito Ortiz at plus 110, and Bas Rutten went with Little Nog at minus 140. What do you think?
I'm going to go with Frank on this one. I agree with Frank. I think that, Little Nog sometimes, I think, gets credit for some of his brother's accomplishments. He's a little smaller. He's always fought at light heavyweight, in the UFC. And I don't think his accomplishments are quite what his brothers are. And I think that, Tito really does still need another win and wants to make a big splash here. So I think we see Tito rough him up.
Okay, again, close to a pick'em fight. It's going to be interesting to see which way the public does go as well. I think we'll get two-way action here, and the guys did split. So minus 140, plus 110, it's going to hit the books that way as well. No adjustment made. And let's go on to the third fight, actually. It was Cormier versus Barnett. Now, a future fight. The fight has not been officially announced yet. It will take place in 2012. More than likely, I know Cormier, he's healing up right now from a hand injury, but there's going to be enough time for him to get back in the gym and get some training in, and more than likely happen in 2012. Now, Barnett, the experience factor, a lot of interesting things going on with him. He is coming in the slight favorites, minus 190, comeback plus 150 on Cormier. Frank Trigg takes the dog, plus 150, and we had Josh Barnett being selected by Bas Rutten at minus 190. Give me your thoughts on this one.
It's a really hard fight to pick. Cormier was just so impressive against Antonio Silva. I thought he'd have a harder time with Antonio Silva, and he destroyed him. And he's got a reputation that's beginning to grow, and it's beginning to be daunting. Trains with good people. I still have a feeling, though, that this might be Barnett's time. He's been on the shelf for a while, experienced, multiple suspensions for a long period of time. And, he's aging. He's now in his 30s, and I think now is the time. He's got to be the most motivated he's ever been. So I think the experience factor here, Barnett may be able to pull something out, and I would probably go with Barnett. Well,
again, that's one of the reasons he's coming in as a favorite. I think he belongs to be like around a 2-to-1 favorite. I think it's a fair line because Cormier, we've seen a lot of skill and talent early on in his career, and there's no saying how far this guy can go. But I guarantee this, the winner of this particular matchup is going to make some serious waves in the heavyweight division. I mean, their stock is just going to go through the roof, I think. And we'll probably potentially see them getting filtered into the UFC heavyweight division and maybe getting an immediate title shot or pretty close, 2 or 3 fights away.
I mean, at this point, the UFC owns Strikeforce. Dana's pulling in some of the fighters already, like we broke the news about Gilbert Melendez and stuff. I'm going to make the call for them to just grab this fight and make it a UFC fight and possibly put it right on the undercard of Lesnar and on December 30th because the fight deserves that attention.
Well, it is a huge fight. Again, I'm not sure exactly when it's going to go down, but that'd be a good spot to put it at as well. We'll see when it unfolds and who wins the interesting battle. And the line is not going to actually move here either. We're going to leave it at minus 190, plus 150 at the sports books when it does hit them.
We're now heading into our mailbag segment. If you have any questions about MMA for Nick or I, or any questions about the odds that Nick is breaking here on the show, shoot us an email to MMAoddsbreaker@gmail.com. If we select your question, we can send you a t-shirt as long as you include your address as well. Nick, I hear we got another mailbag today. What's the question?
This question comes from us, from Mike in Connecticut. He asks, say that Jon Jones and Anderson Silva were booked to fight each other next. What would you set the opening line at? And I'm going to let you respond. I'm the odds maker here, but I'm going to let you respond first to this.
We talked a little bit about the potential for this fight, this major super fight, a little bit earlier in the show. I think you got to go with Jon Jones as the favorite. I think, when skills and things like that are pretty similar, and you're talking about two champions, that you go with the bigger guy, you go with the younger guy, and Jon Jones has those two advantages. I think Anderson Silva has the potential to knock out anybody. He's shown it over and over again. However, with the situation that we have here is, again, Anderson's crawling into his late 30s. John Jones is about 25 years old at this point, and we're going to see possibly Jones win the fight and signal the beginning of the end for the Anderson Silva reign.
Yeah, I honestly probably don't think it's going to happen. It's not a good fight for Anderson Silva in my mind. I would open John Jones a fairly large favorite, to be honest with you, over Anderson Silva. And I know that's crazy because I'm talking about the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. I just think it's a really difficult matchup for Anderson Silva. I think that we've seen the blueprint from Chael Sonnen. I know a lot of people are going to refer to that and say, well, he's a different fighter. But I think John Jones can accomplish those same exact things, get the takedowns, make it interesting on the feet. More interesting, obviously, on the feet, but get the takedowns, control the fight, do some ground and pound. But I do not think that John Jones is as susceptible to submissions. So I think that's why you would make the line a little bit larger. Just off the top of my head, I would say John Jones, I mean, maybe 2.5, 3-1 favorite over Anderson Silva. And I'm sure we get some dog money. I know a lot of people were saying that's a pick'em fight in my mind. To me, it's not a pick'em fight. All respect in the world to Anderson Silva, but I think you would have to favor John Jones and favor him decent.
Yeah, should they make the fight, this could be one of those pass the torch on fights.
Definitely.
That's it for this episode of MMA Oddsbreaker. You can look for the odds that Nick broke right here on this show to start hitting the sports books by the end of the week. And we want to thank our super special guests, Boss Rutten and Frank Trigg. Thanks, guys. And Boss, party on.
And make sure you check out all the latest updates on the Oddsbreaker show at MMA Oddsbreaker on Twitter. For Miguel Andrade, I'm Nick Kalika saying until next time, enjoy the fights.